Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another Koinonia hour. And yes, we're back on Skype again. So, you know how Skype can be. And maybe I don't even need to say anything, but you know how sometimes Skype freezes up. So, if I look funny, frozen, don't look at me. Anyway,
Sorry.
so I am so glad to be back here on another Koinonia hour because I have somebody on that I really could not wait to have on and in such a deep meaningful way. And I say that not like, oh, I'm excited. It's not that kind of excitement. It's a wait till you hear what the Lord did for her excitement. And when I heard her testimony, I said, and I'm a testimony person, I love testimonies, but when I heard her testimony, I said, wow, and her delivery of it was just so real, raw. She just says it like it is. And to me, that's the best testimonies of all. So, Sally, I would like
Hello.
to welcome you for the
Hello.
first
Thank
time
you
on.
very much for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's
Thank
so
you.
good to kind of connect with you because you've definitely been instrumental in sort of my walk so far as well. Your videos have definitely helped me. So thank you for that as well.
Amen. Well, we help each other, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
So, let's pray. Let's offer up
Mhm.
a prayer unto the Lord, committing all to Him, and then I want you to get started because that's why people are watching because they
Okay.
want to hear what you have to say. So,
Great.
would you like to pray? I could pray. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, can do.
Go ahead.
Father God, we come to you in the mighty and wonderful name of our Lord Jesus Christ. And I just thank you for this time. I thank you for having this fellowship time with Joni and the viewers of her channel, Lord. And I just pray that it brings hope and deliverance and just the beauty of your faithfulness, God. The fact that you are the good shepherd, Jesus. You are the one. You leave the 99 and go after the one. And I pray that this will give real like a refreshing of faith for people that are praying for people that aren't yet saved, that people that are in other spirituality. I just pray, God, that your truth will shine through, that my journey to coming back to the Father would just really encourage other people. But I just thank you for Joni. I thank you for everything that she's impacted in my life. And I just praise you for your goodness, for your mercy, and the fact that your grace was so upon me through this. I just thank you for everything in Jesus' name.
In
Amen.
Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so without any further
Okay.
ado, please begin.
Okay. So I wasn't brought up in a Christian home, so basically we had an emphasis of God, but it was more kind of Christmas, Easter, that type of thing. And I think I pretty much was aware that there was a God, and I knew that there was a God, but I didn't really understand, obviously, the bigger implications of Jesus. I knew of Jesus, but it wasn't something that was kind of spoke about in our house. So as I kind of began to grow up, I obviously got involved in different spirituality because as a child I was very much into like supernatural and magic and all that type of thing, which as a child you know that there's something more, and I think I was very aware that there was something more than what we were actually seeing. So from there, I think then I was always interested about what my life was going to look like. And then someone told me about going to see a spiritual medium, that type of thing. So that was really when the door opened to major spirituality. And I went to go and see a medium. This lady told me all kinds of things. And she told me about this photograph about my grandparents having this shop. And I was like, I didn't know anything about this. I didn't have a clue. It was a complete like news to me that was even, they'd even had that. So I'd mentioned it to my aunt, and my auntie said to me, well, how do you know about this? How do you know about this photograph? How do you know about this shop? Because we haven't told you this. And I kind of said, oh, I've been to see a medium. So to which my mum just overheard the conversation, And honestly, I have never seen her kind of like stop in her tracks and go, "Where have you been?" And I went, I went to go and see a medium. And she just, I felt like she was going to kind of pin me against the wall because she was so incensed by what I'd done. But she didn't explain to me what the issue was, why I shouldn't do that. So it kind of has always stayed with me why she behaved in that way, because she was pretty easygoing, you know, like she was fun, kind of wasn't kind of down on you. So I never really understood that. I never really understood her reaction to that. But as I kind of got older, I started going to more and more of these. And it was just this kind of searching of wanting to know what my life was going to look like. It was like I always had this, it's like a hamster on a wheel, basically. I was just like pushed to know what my life was going to be, what was the meaning, what was the point, you know, that type of thing. So when I moved from one part of England to kind of the West Coast, I'd had this opportunity for this job, and the day before I was going for an interview, I went and saw another medium. She basically told me lots of things about my life, what it was going to be like, how I was going to meet this man. And the ironic thing was, the next day I actually met this man that I kind of thought, wow, this is true. This kind of like has corroborated what I thought. And I was just like, wow, there is power in it. There's definite power in this. So I eventually moved over. I got the job, moved over, eventually got with this man, and we had a relationship, and we ended up getting married, and we was with each other for a long time. But I wasn't really involved in sort of major spirituality at that point. It wasn't that I got into like Reiki. I'd had it done back in 2006. And I thought it was a load of rubbish, to be perfectly honest with you. I was like, it didn't do anything. I don't know what it was meant to do, but it didn't do anything. So basically, in 2008, we were getting married. We was going to get married in Mexico. And a month before I was due to go out, we got the diagnosis that my mother was terminally ill with cancer. And she was only 49 years old, and they didn't know how long she was going to have. And I think then I started to feel like I felt like I got this perfect life. I had a perfect job, perfect life in terms of career, home, everything. And then all of a sudden, slowly, bit by bit, I started losing all these things. Like it just seemed that everything was coming against me. And I actually did say to my friend, seriously, I must have been Hitler in a previous life, because the amount of things that is going on right now, I just don't understand. I really don't understand. So we got married in the November. And then basically from there, my mum was getting sicker and sicker, and the writing was pretty much on the wall. And basically she actually passed away on the 4th of February 2009, and it turned my life upside down, basically. And I think I tried to prepare myself as much as I could, but kind of dealing with that was a massive shake. And to be honest with you, I was just numb. I was absolutely numb, and I was crying out for anything to help me, anything to heal me. So as we started going through the rest of this year, I started suffering with severe panic and horrendous like attacks during the night, where literally I had like things where paralysis in my face, where it was literally felt like it was falling, and I'd be in the mirror just like touching my face, going, "What is going on? This isn't right." And it was just so overwhelming. And eventually, I did end up having a breakdown. And it was horrendous. It was like, I think the worst thing when you realize that you have no strength of your own, it's like you cannot physically kind of get up the next day. So this was in the November to 2009, and then we'd gone through our first year of marriage, and I was just like, this is not how I kind of thought it was going to start off. You know, this is not how I kind of imagined this is what it'd look like. And then not long after that, my father, he was diagnosed with bowel cancer. So that was in 2010. Thankfully, he had surgery, and we thought, great, he's kind of coming through this. Then me and my husband, I could feel that things were kind of not what they were anymore. And I think because we'd gone through like loss, because he lost his mum early on in our relationship, and it definitely changed us in terms of people, of losing all those people in that space of time. So my father kind of went through surgery. He seemed to be doing well. And then into 2011, my father-in-law, he then was diagnosed with lung cancer as well. And literally like 6 weeks later, he passed away. And then in the meantime, my father was going for further surgery. This was in 2011 as well. And then again, he got the diagnosis that the cancer had come back, and this time there was nothing they could do about it other than extend his life potentially. So I think I was just like what is going on? Like, what is going on? Because you have, you know, what our sins know, coming to the Lord. When you don't have him in your life, you literally do not have an anchor. You are crashing around from one thing to another, and you will go for anything basically. So then in the August, in the July, in the August, my father passed away. And then it was then about 6 months later, and my marriage, we were pretty much kind of like, we were having time apart, and it was kind of like we were having time apart, coming back together, trying to make it work, and it just wasn't. I think those things either bring you together as a couple or tear you apart, basically. And unfortunately for us, it kind of started the road to the end, really. So then in 2012, we'd pretty much decided that was kind of where we were going to go, part ways. And then I started feeling unwell, and I got rushed into hospital, and basically my gallbladder had ruptured, and I ended up having to have emergency surgery. And the consultant came afterwards and said, you know, another day you wouldn't have been here having this conversation. It was that touch and go. So I think from there is really where I got into the new age stuff, because I'd been on antidepressants for depression and anxiety, and because I'd had these experiences during the night where my face was falling, and it was frightening. It was really frightening to think I am not in control of my body. Like I'm really, really struggling. And I think there's like a bit of shame and a bit of like sort of guilt with not being able to keep it together when you're dealing with all these things. But let's be honest, you know, who can, when you kind of hit with one thing after another? I don't think many people would have been able to stand. I think even when you're in the Lord, I think it would have been difficult. So after I came out of hospital, my husband moved out, and that was really, I'd been talking to this lady, this teacher, about Reiki, about hypnotherapy, things like that, because I was really struggling internally with a lot of emotional hurt and trauma through what had happened with my parents. And I think I just felt like there was something wrong with me. I was like, seriously, there is something wrong with me. That, like, it's not, there's something that doesn't seem to fit right, doesn't seem to sit right with me. I'm not happy. I'm like really down all the time. And I think from there, this lady was like, oh, well, if you do Reiki, you know, it's natural. I'm not taking medication. So it kind of lulled me into this. It's just energy. You know, it's coming from the universe. there's nothing wrong, you know, with this. It's kind of a good thing. But I didn't know where this energy was coming from. And that's the thing. And I think that's the thing for a lot of people. They think that there's no way that it could be coming from a dark place. But what I since found out, obviously, is that, you know, Satan comes disguised as an angel of light for a reason. He's not kind of taking you off to do these wrong things. It's something that presents itself as a good thing, is a good option, because you want healing, you want in deliverance, you want in freedom from these feelings. And I think a lot of people are wrestling with this so much at the moment because of everything going on. So I then kind of embarked on having this treatment with her, and she became like my real confidant, really, like a life coach as well. And it was about me kind of like healing from this trauma and everything else. And there's definitely power in it. I'm not going to say that there isn't, but like I say, it's where that power is coming from. And ultimately, there is one mediator between us and God. And these people offering these treatments are almost trying to step into that role, which they can't do. You know, they can't give you this forgiveness that you want, this healing that you want. They can't give it to you. It is a temporary fix. And it's basically like trying to stick a plaster on an open wound. You're gonna come unstuck with that. It needs the right balm, the right medication, which obviously is Jesus. So I got more and more into this, and there were times, particularly just after me and my husband had split up, that I was having it sometimes 3 times a week, because I was struggling that much just to kind of keep a handle on working and everything else. So then I decided that sort of, I think it was about 6 months, 6-7 months into this, I was having it regular. And I decided that I was going to have like a bit of an adventure. So I went to New York and gave up my job, and kind of just thought, you know, I just want to be somewhere else. I need to do something else with my life. I need to kind of just break away from the mundane. So the following year, in 2013, I embarked on this adventure, and I just thought, you know, I remember being in the airport going, what am I doing? Well, seriously, what am I doing? But, you know, at the time, it was just like I was trying to escape, I think. And I think that's the thing. You know, you can run away from your problems, but they're still going to be there. And it did manifest itself like quite quickly while I was there. Hence, when I'd sort of been living there like a few days, I met this girl who had lived in England previously, and she was going to the Buddhist temple. So I was like that desperate for like any sort of healing, feeling, whatever. I just thought, yeah, do you know what? I'll give it a go. You know, at the end of the day, if it's worked for her, it'll maybe work for me. So I started going to this Buddhist temple in New York, and, you know, I think the thing is, it sounds great on the tin, you know what I mean? It sounds really good, but what you don't realize is like, it really doesn't give you any healing, any deliverance. In fact, in one of the meditations that I was in, I literally had this chatter that was so loud, like I just couldn't quieten my mind, which obviously we're not meant to do. But the brutalness of the speech that was happening in my mind while we was doing this meditation, and I'm just sat around thinking, why is no one, like, why is this just happening to me? What is wrong with me? And it was just crazy. And I ended up, they played this music, and I ended up like just bawling in the middle of this room and having to leave. It was just like so overwhelming. But I do think that was kind of like God trying to show me, you know, this is not the healing that you're looking for. Even then, I do believe that he was in that, and he was working in that to show me like, this is not going to be the thing that heals you, looking back. So when I came home, I was there for 3 months, and I think when I was on the airplane on the way home, I was like, oh, I can't believe I'm going back to where I started. You know, it's like literally I'm going back to my hometown. It's, my parents aren't there anymore. You know, it was a bit of a bittersweet end of the adventure. And then I was there for a few years, and then that was where I started getting involved in the Reiki. Basically, I started, some friends had said to me, "Oh, Sally, you know, I think it's done really well for you. It's really helped you. So, you know, why don't you, you know, become a Reiki healer?" And I was like, yeah, it has helped me. You know, I can help other people, and I wanted to help other people, but I didn't know how to do that. So I then embarked on the training, did the level 1, did the level 2, and became a master over a period of time. And I would just go into all these different crystal retreats. I'd had hypnotherapy, I'd had sort of cognitive behavior therapy, kind of you name it, I've kind of had it, basically trying to heal myself, trying to get some, I think, break away from this feeling, this sense of just not being right, just something not being right within me. So I then was working for another company. I'd moved back to Lancashire, where I live now, and I was there for a few years, and I was getting involved in still a lot of these different treatments. So we were doing meditation, we were involved in like yoga and things like that. Pretty much any sort of the new age stuff that's out there, I was pretty much involved in. But I never ever, it was all temporary peace. It was all just something that you had to keep going back. It was like, you know, the opposite of what Jesus said to the woman at the well. Do you know what I mean? Anyone who takes a drink from me, I'll never thirst again. It was like, no, I need to keep this fixed. I need to keep this going. So I then, because I got made redundant from my job, everyone has said, you know, why don't you're a Reiki master now? You know, why not use that and start, you know, making an income from it? So I thought, well, yeah, you know, why not? You know, I want to do these therapies. I want to be able to help someone. I want to be able to listen like I wanted someone to listen to me. So I think it came from a point of what I was missing. I really wanted to give that to someone else. Unfortunately, I didn't know that it was obviously for the other side, but but yeah, so I started doing these treatments. I then got involved with this guru who was not that far away from us, and he was talking about Christ consciousness, and basically, you know, like you can heal yourself, and he quoted the Bible, and you know, it's so funny because I was reading today, like, there will be false Christs that come in my name, and I was like, that was him, and I just didn't even see it. And so many people use Jesus's name, his mission for the earth, but they don't actually lead you to him. That's, you know, that's the thing. So I got involved with this guy, and I think because my father had passed away and I didn't have any sort of male connection, you know, someone, that a father figure that you could go to, I think he became that. And unfortunately, through this, what I since realized is it was a cult, basically. You know, it was it was so terrible when I think about it. The manipulation and the way that it was kind of played off, and people were played off against each other, was just horrendous. And there were encounters through those meditations where literally it was like I was being ripped, I was being pulled up, I was being pulled down, and it was awful. It was a terrifying experience. And when I came round, I was literally in tears, and I was like, oh, like, this can't be right. You know, there was something in me that was still saying there's something not right here. Like, I think I've found what I've been looking for, but it still isn't right. So I kept on doing the treatments, started building up a bit of a client base, and ironically, this man was actually saying to us, you know, you shouldn't be doing any healing on anyone, because you don't know what you're bringing baggage wise with you. And I was like, yeah, but if we do all the symbols, if we're kind of like protecting ourselves, we should be okay. And this is what people kind of tell you. Anyway, I was doing more and more of the treatments, but then I started getting sick myself. I started having issues with my throat, and it was happening all the time. And I remember speaking to my teacher, and basically I just said, I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm doing all the things you're telling me to do. I'm following what the manual says, and I'm getting ill. And obviously the whole point of me doing this was to help other people and help myself, you know, and I'm a bit confused. You must be doing something wrong. And it was like, but I'm doing everything that you're telling me to do. So I'm really confused. So there was just something that was beginning to like move in my heart. Like there was something that didn't seem to sit right. But I think because all the documentation, so all the training material says Jesus went around with hands-on healing. So it kind of like, you're lulled into this false sense of security that, well, if it was all right for Jesus, then it's all right. Do you know what I mean? And I know that's really prideful, really, but I think us subconsciously knows that Jesus is right, because like it's like, well, if he's doing it, it's all right. So yeah, so that was kind of that sort of end to it. And then from there, my friend was also a Reiki Master, and we connected through another friend, and we would always have spiritual conversations, and I could see that something was beginning to change in her, and I didn't quite know what was happening. But she started mentioning Jesus more and more. So I was like, but I'm doing healing through the universe. I call everyone in, Jesus included. You know, that was kind of my view. So every time we spoke, there was just something different about the way that she was talking. She was mentioning the Bible a lot. And I was like, okay, you know, fair enough. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. It's not that I don't. I do. But I just think, you know, I've got my own way of spirituality, because I didn't want anything to do with religion. That was one thing I'd said to many, many people, because I'd had an encounter with the Jehovah's Witnesses. And I was like, if that's God, I do not want it. It was kind of, it really put me off. So it was just interesting how God began to work through her as he was drawing her out of the New Age as well. So one particular day I'd kind of come round, we'd had a discussion, and things were getting really, really bad. Like I was trying not to sin. Like this guru was saying, you know, don't sin, you know, put your foot on the brake, don't sin, don't get involved in sin. But me trying not to sin on my own strength, it's like trying to tell a dog not to wag, you know, not to wag his tail. It just isn't possible. So I think ultimately I then kind of realized that there was an issue, and it was really, really beginning to kind of like, the cracks and the wheels were beginning to fall off, really. And I basically oh, hello.
Yeah.
Frozen.
Okay.
Sorry.
It froze for a few seconds, so just go back a little bit and repeat that.
Okay. No problem. Technology is great when it works. Yeah. So basically, I could see that God was doing something in my friend, and I didn't really understand what was happening, you know, in myself. But my heart was softening towards God, and I think the Bible, that the more that she kind of said it, Anyway, I'd decided, well, I literally felt like things weren't right at this group. I came around, had a conversation, we kind of chatted, and she said, look, Sally, if it's not in the Bible, I'm not doing it. And I was like, okay, I don't really know what to do with that, but okay. And I don't know, something happened in my heart. I can't really explain it, but it was like I was willing to receive it at this point. So she showed me this documentary of some Christians going out on the streets and praying for people and healings and things like that. And I just remember watching it, and it just stopped me in my tracks. I literally felt the weight of God like on my shoulders of what I was doing, and what I was doing was wrong. Because basically one of the people, one of the guys that were on the streets praying, someone had said, oh, is this Reiki? And he said, no, it's Jesus. And literally I howled the entire way through the documentary. I could not stop crying. But I was like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, I've invested all this money. I've spent thousands of pounds, like trying to heal me, trying to find you. I really don't know what to do. So I was due to go to Hawaii for my 40th birthday, and I was going to be out there for 3 weeks. So I thought, you know what, God, I'm just gonna. I just don't know what to do with this. It just seems so overwhelming. Like I didn't want to give up this identity, I guess, as a healer. And even though I knew that it wasn't me, it was like you assume this because you wanting to help people. And Satan kind of comes and says to you, oh, you're a light worker, you're going to help humanity, you're going to help these people that are struggling, which sounds great, but like I say, when you don't know where it's coming from, it actually did more harm than good. And so I went off to America, and basically I ended up at a church on Christmas Day, and it was just this little tent, and I was just like, this is the most random church I think I've ever been to. But I was just like, you know what, God, I want to know you. It was like in my heart that I'd purposed that I want to know you, because I have tried everything else. I have done everything else. I've literally like lost tons of weight. I've tried to find myself in every single thing, and you're the one that I think I need. You're the one who I'm searching for. So had a nice time, and then on New Year's Day we met this chap up a mountain. We went for a walk and got talking. He was a nice chap from Ireland, so we kind of got talking and had a bit of a laugh. And I was like, so what are you doing here? Why are you here? He said, oh, well, I'm house sitting and I'm looking after some cats. And I'm like, what? That's like a thing? It was just like so crazy. And I was like, me and you need to have a conversation. We definitely need to kind of have a chat. So we swapped information. And basically, I went to go and see him just before I was coming home in January. And he kind of said, you've been to the house, they're looking for someone later in the year, do you fancy coming back? And I was like, seriously, I haven't worked for like three weeks, there's no way I'm going to be coming back. So that was it really. Didn't kind of think anymore. Arrived back home, and then within 24 hours I literally got an email. I emailed him to say it was great to meet you, and wherever you're going in the world next, hope it's good. And then he emailed me back and said, the couple have been let down by the next people that are coming to look after the house. Would you be interested? And I was like, I've not even been home 24 hours. Like, I'd love to, but no, I don't think that's going to happen. But this is where God really began to work, because I'd gone back to this group, and even though I knew it was wrong, even though there was something not sitting right with me, it was like because I'd given 2 years of my life for this, it was almost like you don't want to give it up. Us human beings were so weird. Like, even when you think it's like wrong, you carry on, keep going, because you're like, you just do not want to let it go. So basically he said, look, I said, I'd love to come back, but I'm not in a financial position to do that. So, you know, I'll leave it with you. And he said, look, have a Skype meeting with the couple, see what you think, and then we'll kind of take it from there. So I did. Anyway, I was like, look, I don't think I can come purely because of the financial situation. And they just bowled me over, really. I was kind of in shock. I'd been asking lots of people for advice. Is this a good thing? Is this from God? Is it not from God? I don't know. You know, kind of looking for signs everywhere. And basically they offered to pay for my flight and kind of put me up in their home for 2 months. And literally I cried, and I was like, I can't believe this is like happening. And literally I'll have been home 6 weeks, and I'm going to be back in Hawaii. So during this time, my housemate, she was going off to Denmark, the friend that got saved before me. I was going off back to Hawaii, and she gave me a Bible. And when she was praying, she kept on praying for me. And every time she prayed for me, I just would be in buckets of tears. Like, it was like just this sense of coming home. It was like I felt rest for the first time in my life, basically. So I went off. I was reading the Bible. I was like watching loads of Christian stuff, and I was like, God, is this right? Is it not right? I don't know, because honestly, everyone's told me that it's from God. This is all from you, and still, I still don't know. I don't feel like I've got any answers. I just feel like I get another question rather than the answer. So I was just really seeking God in the way that I could. And I was reading the Bible, but not really making sense of it. I was trying, but it was just like, it just felt foreign. It just felt very uncomfortable at that point, because I was just like, I'm still not getting it. I'm still not getting this. So I went to the beach, and I was staying in Kailua, and I was like, God, please, will you just give me a sign, give me something that I know that is from you. I just need confirmation. So I was out meeting a friend, and two of the main occasions that stand out was I was on a bus, and I was a couple of stops away from mine, and then as I was about to, the bell went, and as I turned around, there was a lady's t-shirt saying, I'm following Jesus. I was just like, no way. So I kind of laughed to myself, going, no, that must be a coincidence. But, you know, just kind of like tucked it away and just laughed to myself. Then the week before I was due to come home, I'd been on the beach again in the morning, and just was, God, please just show me. If Jesus is the way to you, please just give me something that I know. Just give me proof of that, because I have wasted so much time, and I don't want to waste anymore. So from there, I went to the supermarket. Didn't really think any more about it, to be honest with you. And as I was doing my grocery shopping, went to the conveyor belt, and as I put the basket down, I lifted my head up, and I was face to face with Jesus on the front of National Geographic magazine. And honestly, like, tears came to my eyes. I was like, oh, Lord, all right, God, all right, I surrender. Do you know what? I surrender. If this is what needs, if this is it, I'll put my trust in you. I will put my trust in you. So I kind of walked from there back home. And I knew I needed to get baptized. I knew it was like something in me. I knew that it needed to happen. And but I didn't know when or how or anything. I wasn't part of a church. I didn't know anything. So I left arrived home back in England on Good Friday. And while I'd been away, like people were coming to, like I was getting Facebook messages because I had a Facebook page about my business. So I had people like getting in touch, asking for treatments. So it was like, oh no, I don't know what to, like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And I just wanted to go back as well. While I was there, I was still, even though I'd kind of had this revelation that what I was doing was a bit wrong, God in his grace, I stopped calling in all these different spirit guides. I basically just started, when I was doing treatment on people, I would just literally put my hands on them and I would just be speaking to Jesus, really. So I knew that God was doing something within my heart. So when I got home, all my friends then were like, oh, we've missed you, we want to get a treatment in with you, you know. And I was like, listen, I don't know what I'm doing right now. I need to kind of like take some time because I've just been on a real long flight. I need a bit of downtime first. And I think I just needed to process what had happened, I guess. So on the Saturday, I felt prompted to come and see my friend who had also got saved. And she was having some friends over who she'd met in Denmark, who had done ministry in Germany, and then they'd come to England basically, and they were staying with her. They'd had dinner. I just came around for a cup of tea, got more than a bargain for. Basically, they shared the gospel with me properly. They just said, do you want to get baptized now? So I was like, yeah, you know. So it was kind of like, how's that going to go? So they started filling the bathtub, and this was, I don't know, 9 o'clock on a Saturday evening, and I'm thinking, this is like bonkers. It's like Easter Saturday into Sunday, and I'm like, this is crazy. This is, and even though I was like totally convinced that I needed to do it, the war that was going off inside me, honestly, it was like a bag of cats were attacking each other. It was awful. It was literally like the worst feeling in my life. And I was pacing the landing going, this is not right. All I kept hearing was, this isn't right. This isn't right. You're going into another cult. You're going into another cult. I'm like, no, this can't be happening. It was just awful. And it was like, I don't think I ever anticipated like the spiritual warfare of what would happen. Like I just thought, yeah, I'll give my life to the Lord, you know, that type of thing. But I had seen things, and I've seen videos of deliverance and things like that, so I was aware of that, but it didn't kind of prepare me for what came next. So got into the bathtub, we prayed, and literally as I went under that water, something happened, like, honestly, like I've never experienced in my entire life. But I came up, and the scream that was coming out of my mouth was like, it nearly burst my eardrum. It was that loud, and it wasn't in the same range. Like, it's not possible for my voice to be that high. And basically this went on for quite a while, and we were praying, and I was manifesting. I couldn't say the name of Jesus. It was that strong. And honestly, I felt like I was having an out-of-body experience. It was like my spirit had been suppressed, and whatever was the dominant, I was behind. And it was so odd. And I just remember feeling like so much rage. And I'm not an angry person, but honestly, it was like I could have quite easily hit the people in the room because it was like I was livid. I was so angry. So they prayed for me, and thank God that they continued in prayer. They didn't give up, and I got delivered of quite a lot of different things. I'd obviously renounced everything anyway when they shared the gospel with me. But that night I went to sleep with the Bible. I was like, oh my days, like, this is real. This is real. what have I been doing? Like, what have I opened myself up to? I absolutely had no idea that I was basically one of Satan's minions, really, because I was leading people away from Jesus. And the sadness that I felt the next day, I think the reality of what I'd been doing, what I'd been involved in, was just devastating. I think I just thought all I'd ever wanted to do was try and help people, and I'd been deceived. It felt like I knew I'd been deceived. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, I can't believe that I fell for this. I can't, but like, the more absurd it was, the more I kind of fell for it. Do you know what I mean? It was just crazy. But yeah, I received the Holy Spirit. I got more deliverance that week, and thank God that they did kind of like keep going with me with it. But there was still some pride in me because I didn't want to give up like this healing. I don't know why. It's so crazy, really, that you do that. But the next day, we kind of took everything out of the flat that I was living. Literally went through everything, just got rid of it all, burnt it, and thank God he just, really revealed all this stuff to me. And it had been such a massive like wake up call. But I think it was equally terrifying as well, knowing that you'd been involved, you know, like those things are real and they've been in you. So yeah, but I mean, he was so faithful through, like, he didn't give up on me. And I think that's the thing, that I had so many people praying for me. And like, just today I was thinking of like the people that I prayed for me. Like, when I was in my early 20s, there was one of our trainers that was a born again Christian, and I always used to hate being in the car with her because she would always mention Jesus. And it was just like, honestly, even then, but I was thinking back, going, it's just amazing that she was praying for me as well. Like she would have been praying for me. Like, all these different people along my journey have prayed for me to come to the truth. And I think it's just been an epic journey of kind of then giving up my business. Like, I lost friends through that, obviously, because I was like, I can no longer do this. I don't know, I didn't know where it was coming from. I now do know, and I believe in the God of the Bible. I believe in Jesus. I believe He is the only way. And it's been difficult, but what I've lost, I've gained through other people, because there is a lot of people leaving the New Age right now. There are so many people that are getting saved. Like, one of the girls that I know was a shaman. Another friend of mine was a Reiki Master. So I know that God is on the move in terms of those people, because they're thirsty. They're thirsty for spirituality. They want the truth. And they believe that, unfortunately, through all the different conspiracy theories about the Bible and everything else, that they can't trust that the book. But it's like, you know what? It's more relevant now than I think it's ever been. You know, it's like, you see what's happening in the world. It's more relevant, and it does bring healing. It does bring conviction, and it does bring the realization of who you are, the fact that you are a sinner. And but the beauty of God's plan and how He redeems you is just amazing. It just absolutely blows my mind of His goodness. It's changed my life, and I'm so thankful, so thankful. But yeah, if you're watching this and you're worried about people being in the New Age, you know, trust God. Keep praying for them. Keep believing that He will bring them out, because if He can bring me out, He can bring them out as well. You know, He is faithful. He wants no man to perish, but all to come to the knowledge of Him. But yeah, so there you go. It's been an interesting few years.
Wow. You know, while you were talking, and you know, I'm seeing your, because I'm hearing it now for the second time, so it's even more penetrating. But you know, it started out with loss.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody has some plan when they're younger, like I'm going to go do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to be this and I'm going to be that. But God has a plan, Satan has a plan,
Yeah.
and they both have an end, and they both have an
Definitely.
eternality to it.
Mm.
And so, it's so classic, right? Like, you want to get married, you have a plan to get married, I
Mm.
mean, it's like, and of course, it's like, you're young and you're like, oh, you have a picture, like you said, you had a picture in your head how that would look
Yeah.
like.
Mm.
And then both of you were being taken apart by the seams, especially you. And it's like,
Mm.
how can even a regular, even dating survive that?
Yeah,
And like
absolutely.
you said, Christ wasn't in your life, so it's on you.
Mm.
You see, Satan took advantage of,
Yeah.
what I call the great pain of
Mm.
mankind. I termed that in my own self, because I thought
Mm.
there is a lot of pain, but there is a great pain,
Mm.
the great pain. And
Yeah,
and so,
definitely.
the enemy entered in at that point. Maybe right at that point he did not come into that soulish realm of
Mm.
you, but little by little he was offering a false light. And
Yeah,
like you said,
absolutely.
who doesn't want to get healed? Who doesn't
No.
want, I mean, because like you were talking about, I'm saying this collectively about
No, no.
how there's a lot of hurting people out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
They don't know Jesus. I mean, and like you said, there's a lot of propaganda. There's a lot of stuff out there that's like, you don't want to believe in him. He never really even existed. It's just a fairy tale. Um, but it's so amazing to see your timeline
Mm.
and to see how it's like this. Here's how I saw it. It ended in this way. Like, first of all, you lost incredible losses over here, right?
Yeah.
And then on this end, after you received Christ, you wanted to go, you went back. Look, I mean, we enter into the kingdom with baggage. There's,
Mm.
there's
Oh,
no,
yeah, of course.
there's no switch you flip on. There's
No.
people coming out of addictions and who knows what else, and they get born again. And so the old man Adam still wants to participate in the world.
Mm.
But
Totally.
that greater thing that happened in you said, yeah, I'm dealing with the fact that I still wanted to be doing this healing, but inside you're like, but I just can't. And
Mm.
even though you did it again, that's the same thing everybody does.
Yeah.
You receive Christ, you don't all of a sudden the next day dial the phone and join a seminary. You know what I mean?
No. No, definitely not. Definitely not. But I think the thing is though, it was like one thing that I did want to mention. There was a documentary that I watched that debunked Christianity, basically saying that Jesus was the same as many other deities. Basically, they all revolve around the same thing. Born on the 25th of December, yada yada yada. And I do think something happened in that moment. I remember feeling I cried, thinking, and bearing in mind I didn't know God at all at this point,
Mhm.
but I cried thinking that can't be like that has really hurt me to think you don't have someone to answer to, or there isn't someone else who is in control of this. I think really really kind of gave me the sort of green light to go and do what I wanted to do, basically. And it's only something that I've pondered about recently, and I was like, that definitely made a difference in my life. Like that definitely like was a bit of a turning point, not for the better. But ultimately, as Romans says 8:28, he works all things for good for those who love him and are called according to his purposes. And I never imagined that I would be on this journey. If you'd have said to me 5 years ago that I'd have been a Christian, I wouldn't have said it. There'd have been no way that I would have willingly gone to the church. Do you know what I mean? Come to the church. It just was not something on my radar. I didn't want anything to do with religion. But then when you meet Jesus, it is like he gives you rest. It's like I perpetually felt like I was on this hamster wheel of trying to heal, trying to fix me. And everyone's that, you look at it, how many self-help books are out there? How many of these things? But it's a gospel of self. It is just all about you. And, you know, what Jesus did for us, the fact that he died and he took the penalty for all sin, is just amazing. And you can have proper healing through him. You can have proper reconciliation to God through him, that you will not get through Buddha, that you will not get through Allah, that you will not get through any other medium. You will not get that. And he is a lover of our souls. And I think that's been such a beautiful thing for me. And it's, you know, you're further along in the walk than me, Johnny, but you know, it's not easy. And particularly when you've kind of been through these things, you kind of limp along and fall, and you quite easily can fall into a lot of deceptions after that as well. You know, Hebrew roots, or, you know, whatever it is, there's always something else where, you know, the enemy wants you to be, he wants to be the taskmaster, whipping that it's not enough what Jesus did. It's not enough. And it's like taking your eyes off what he did. And that's definitely what the New Age kind of promotes, in terms of like, it's all about you evolving. It's all about you achieving your higher self. Do you know what I mean? So
Oh yeah. You know, I mean, I've been like studying about, not that I'm like deeply studying it or anything. I've been around for a long time. And, you know, I had a certain relative that was super into the New Age movement. I mean, this person owned every book, The Third Eye, Reiki healing, yoga, TM, you know, just all these things, right? And it's a downward slope, and it's actually pretty fast. It's like once you open that door, it's like you said at first, you were like, oh, I'm receiving a lot of, because I've talked to other people who said no. I mean, one woman told me, she said, I joined yoga, and you know, I just didn't, like you, she didn't have the Lord, she didn't know the Lord. I mean, she was just by herself, right? And she was having a rough life, and somebody's like, you really need to take yoga. And so she went to, she goes, well, I don't have money, I'm broke, I can't do it. Well, you know, you can come, you know, there's like the one free class they'll give you to, you know. Well, this person told me that they went to the one free class, and the owner of the yoga studio just so happened to be there and said, I don't know what it is about you, but I just really want to just say, you don't even have to pay to come here.
Wow.
Yes. And she said to her, you can come all you want. And she said, Joni, I was going constantly. She said, and I did. She said, I was invigorated. I felt this, like, you know, kind of, what's that, euphoria? Like there was this euphoric peace. I knew I had found this way, like you said, a self-healing. But then again, the enemy starts pulling out a little bit once he gets you in, so that you want more, and then you go deeper and you go deeper and you go deeper. And this girl that I know went so deep into it that she got into, I want to go into her story, but the depth of darkness into that. And it nearly killed her. I mean, like you, like she got sick all of a sudden. Then it was like, because those spirits want to kill you. Bottom line, those spirits are there to kill you.
Absolutely.
They're not just there to make you feel good. They hate you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
They hate you. And so they're there to kill you. And so that thing was taking, I mean, it took her down hard. Like she said, Joni, I thought I was dying.
Yeah.
You know,
and I've heard that multiple times, particularly with like yoga. Some of the spirits are attached to that practice. I've heard that so many times. And, you know, like I said in my testimony, you know, trying to separate yoga from the Hindu spirits attached to that is like trying to separate Christianity from the Holy Spirit. You can't do that. You can't separate them. And the reality is, I kind of read something the other day that a friend had sent me, and it was talking about yoga. And they were saying, oh, it'd been given to humanity to heal. And I was like, well, how's that going? Because to be honest with you, from where I'm looking, we're not really healing each other through yoga, are we? Do you know what I mean? Like, we're in a worse state than this world has ever been. And I wouldn't say it's kind of accomplishing anything, you know. And that's not me kind of being a bit blasé about the practice. At the end of the day, it does not heal you. It doesn't. And if it's just stretching that you want to do, there's plenty of other things that you can do.
Right.
To
I agree.
to use your body in that way and to get physical exercise. But I think the reality is you can't separate the spiritual aspect from that practice. You just can't.
No, it's like saying, well, I've been attending the Satan's temple, but it's okay because when they're chanting to Satan, I'm worshiping the Lord within. It's like it doesn't, you
No,
can't serve two,
no,
okay?
totally
And
not.
but I'll tell you something. Satan demands sacrifice.
Yeah,
He does. He demands it, and he will come
definitely.
and take it. He doesn't ask your permission because whatever he gives you, the price is your soul.
Yeah.
It's your
And
life.
it's such a high price as well in terms of like your mental state and everything else. You know, the darkness at points that I was in, it was horrendous. And for anyone who's dealing with depression and anxiety, you know, I definitely didn't fully appreciate how terrible that is until I went through it myself. And it's debilitating at times, but you know what, God is mightier and he can help you through this. He can heal you, and he can heal those parts that no meditation, no therapy, nothing can heal it like the Lord can.
Hmm.
And that would be my kind of view on that.
Yeah, when you said like when you and plus that part where you said you got baptized, like I mean, come on, the whole thing is just amazing. But when you said that spirit came out, right?
Yeah,
You said something about that in terms of like you understood that it was suppressing you, like
yeah, yeah.
like
It was like when I came up out of the water, it was almost like, you know, if oil is put on top of water and you
Mhm.
light it, that's what it felt like, me coming out of the water. It was so like crazy. Um, but it was like I was having like an out of body experience. So it felt like I was out of my body at that point. And it
Wow.
was so odd because whatever was inside of me had, because I'd opened all these doors. Like
Yeah.
I didn't know in terms of the the implications of that, like all these rituals that I were doing to be initiated into Reiki. You know, you have to have these rituals every time you go up in a level. So again, there's more and more. But the thing is, I remember sort of some of the meditations that we're in before we were doing the Reiki kind of attunements. And these people were saying, "Oh, I've been in a boat with Jesus." You know, so like they are believing whatever they're seeing,
Mhm.
they're believing because they believe that the Lord's part of it. And I think that's the danger. You're walking in spiritual, deception, really. And I was like, why are all these people having these experiences? And I'm not. Like literally I saw a flash of purple or something, something ridiculous. But I think it's kind of like God's grace that I didn't get to see anything. There were many times in meditations where nothing happened for me. And I think it's because he was like, you know what? No. Like, no, this is not for
Yeah.
you. This is not where I want you to be. And I think the times where I did have an encounter, I think it was to kind of shock me, to wake me up, basically. So yeah, so it's you don't know, you are putting a target on your head and you don't realize that you
Mhm.
are, and it will not bring you the peace that you're looking for, which I know everyone's looking for that. It doesn't matter who you are,
Mhm.
everyone's looking for peace. They're looking for comfort. They're looking for someone. They want to know that there is someone higher in power that has their back. And that is the God that we serve. That is Jesus. He couldn't have done any more for us than what he did on that cross. And it's when you have that understanding, when you know him, when you're in fellowship with him, it is totally different. And that's not to say that everything's perfect. It's not. But we live in this life. We live in a fallen world. And there's battles and there's things that you deal with. But I'm not doing it alone anymore. I'm not having to pull myself together. I'm not having to make sure I'm right all the time. You know, it's entering his rest because he's done that work.
Beautiful.
He did it on the cross.
That's so beautiful. You know, you talked about how you weren't having, like, you would close your, other people were having visions and seeing these
Yeah.
tranquil, you know, images and things.
Experiences.
And you're like, I'm not seeing anything. And just like my friend who was deeply into it, she said, Joni, when I was getting deeper and deeper into it, there were some things that I had gotten into that were very dangerous.
Mm,
And something, looking back now, God was preventing it.
yeah,
God was
totally.
stop his invisible hand was on her and it was upon you. And
Mm,
so,
I
you
know.
know, the beauty of all this is, you know, I think of that scripture in the word where Jesus says, I, even if I be lifted up from the earth, will draw all men to myself.
It's one of my favorites. I love that scripture.
Right. And that's what he
Mm,
did for you. Like there was no
mm,
middleman. There was like, and that's fine. That happens to other people, but it's so beautiful because, you know, it's like, one thing I'm going to say is this: God shares everything with us.
mm,
He shares
yeah.
his son with us. He shares the resources of the world with us. He shares his love with us. He
Mm,
shares mercy. He shares his word, and it's endless. He shares so much, but there's one thing: he shares his son,
yeah.
but he will not share his glory.
No. No, no, no.
He will not share
Absolutely
his
not.
glory. And so when your story, that's why I loved it. Another one of the reasons why I loved it is that he came to you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he was the chief shepherd of the sheep. That great
Mm,
shepherd of the sheep went
mm,
looking for you.
yeah,
You know,
definitely.
and one last thing I want to say, you know, all that wrestling that you were doing when you were in Hawaii, you were like, of course the guy is blowing out there, the gardener. So you guys, if you're hearing that, the timing of the gardener is really bad, but whatever. This is just life, like how it is. But it's like, you know, when you were doing all that wrestling with him, I mean, I
Mm,
loved that. You know why I
mm,
loved it? Because it's nowadays, and you know what I'm talking about. So many people think it's like you got to just say a few words and now you're in, and then some
yeah.
work is done in heaven, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
But you know, you were like, I have to know.
Yeah.
Have to know. I have to know. I have to know. And this is, you know, tell me, talk to me. And you wrestled with that.
Mm,
And I love those two instances where you said on the bus how the girl's shirt says,
I'm
I
following
follow
Jesus.
Jesus. Okay. In other words, Jesus is saying, follow me, Sally.
Mm,
And
yeah.
then you go to the grocery store and now his face is there and he's like, you know,
I think,
I just want to say this. You know what I love about it? Because he will do things like that for people
yeah.
that are really searching and they want to come in. He doesn't have to do that,
No,
but it's
not at
like,
all.
yeah. And I mean, that's clearly not him, but there was a
No.
depiction of him.
Yeah.
And the girl's like, I'm following him. I mean, it's like he was in that. He was in that.
No, and I think, to be honest with you, like, literally when I went to the store and it wasn't even on my mind at that point. You know, I'd kind of like obviously said all this stuff at the beach, but it wasn't in my mind. And then I think the thing is, afterwards, I was like, I checked the image of the magazine because I didn't know what the magazine was. But when I took a picture, I actually sent the image to my friend who had been saved. And I was like, either I have a stalker or it's time to come to Jesus. And that was all I kind of said. um, and but then afterwards, when I zoomed in on the picture, it was like National Geographic, and I was like, God knew where I was and where I needed to be to receive it, and it just. I mean, a lot of people, I think, sometimes are like, oh yeah, well, you know, whatever. But I was like, no, it felt really personal to me. He knew what I needed, and he was faithful with his word, basically, of like me saying, Lord, I'll follow you. I just need this confirmation. I need to know, because I've been so deceived, and I think so many people have fallen folly to this. I think this is why he kind of worked in the way that he did. But yeah, it's been amazing. But the last thing was, obviously, because I gave up my business, I didn't have an income. I literally ended up going back to Hawaii 6 weeks later for another 2-month stint. I was like, and the couple kind of paid for me to go back and paid my air flight. I was like, this is great. Like, this is absolutely bonkers. But God kind of worked in that, and I really was seeking him while I was there, and I was reading the word and getting in it. And then when I came back, I had no job. Like, literally, I had £500 left in the bank. Didn't have any job. I didn't know what I was going to do. I'd moved in with my friend, and then I'd spent hours and hours on the internet trying to find a job, because obviously I couldn't do the healing anymore. And then I'd seen this job to work in sales for this company not far from where we live, and I really felt prompted by the Holy Spirit to go in and take my resume. So I did. Went in. They saw me straight away, like literally said, yes, we've got a job and we'll see you now. I was like that doesn't happen. And I was like praying to God before I went in. I was like, Lord, if it is that you want me to be off and just spend time with you, you need to help me, because obviously you know my financial position right now. This is all I have. This is all I've got. But I'll do whatever it takes. Whatever you want me to do, I will do it. So I ended up having an interview, and I was like, Lord, if this is of you, please just give me like a sign. Please just confirm it to me that this is from you. So I went in. It was a father and son business, and they were reading my CV, and he just said, so, okay, interesting CV. I'm Peter, this is Simon. And I just like laughed. I was like, no. I was like, that can't, like, honestly, it was just absolutely hilarious. And I literally walked out of that place with a job, and I've been there 5 years now. And it's like, honestly, the way that God like opened a door for me, but the way he confirmed it was just absolutely amazing. And I just wanted to share that, because I just know that there's so many people struggling right now with backs against the wall and things like that. And all I would say is, if you're feeling prompted by the Spirit, do it. You know, just bite the bullet and do it. If God's prompting something on your heart, just take a step in faith, and he will meet you in that. Because he did for me. And honestly, it's amazing. It's 10 minutes from where I live, and you know, it's just unbelievable like how we worked in that. But I was like, it always makes me laugh, even now.
I laughed. Well, Sally, thank you so much.
No, thank you.
For time. This was a priceless testimony that I have the privilege to share. And I just bless you in the name of the Lord to go on and abound in the grace of God, grace for grace, strength for strength, faith for faith, from glory to glory, and then face to face.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
I just
thank you so much.
Yeah, it was very touching and moving to me, and I know it's going to go everywhere, because it travels. You know, people share.
Definitely.
So, can people reach out to you if?
Sure. Yeah. If you want to put my email address down, if you've got any questions, if there's anything you're kind of struggling with, you know, in terms of family members that are in the occult, or you know, if it's just to reach out in terms of like encouragement, you know, for me, I've been encouraged, and I want to be able to pass it on. As you said in your last video, Johnny, about giving a cold cup of water to someone else. That's what this is, in terms of us sharing what God's done in our lives. And I think, you know, I'd be happy to. It'd be not a problem at all.
Isn't it true when you've been made alive in Christ, rivers of water flow forth from your belly? It does it on itself.
Yeah.
He's alive in there. So, anyways, God bless you. I
No,
pray
thank
you
you
have
so much. It's so lovely to connect with you. I'm really, really grateful. And thank you for all the encouragement that you've given me as well. You know, when we've exchanged emails, it's meant a lot. So thank
oh,
you.
it's always been a pleasure. Well, God
Thank you.
bless you,
God
sister.
bless
Go with
you.
the Lord, and I'll talk to you next time.
Yeah. All right.
All right,
Bye-bye.
bye bye.
Bye.